One of the ways the stars were used heavily in Arabia long ago was as a seasonal forecaster to predict the onset of seasonal rains and the changes in flora and fauna and even social behaviors that those rains brought about. In the desert, rain is everything, and so it's critical to know when the next seasonal rains are going to come. Within Arabia, a group of stars were called rain stars, al-Anwat, and these stars were used to determine the onset of the seasonal rains at various times of year. Now, the time for observing the Anwat was a time called Ghallas, which is an Arabic term that indicated the darkness of the night when it begins to become mixed with the light of dawn and the redness of dawn. So practically, it's about 45 minutes to an hour before sunrise. In reality, this timing would depend on the brightness of a star, because a very bright star might still be observed as close as 30 or 20 minutes before sunrise in the west, whereas a dim star might already get washed out an hour before sunrise, and so it would need to be observed even earlier before it set. Once we have a standard time period and the setting of a star, now we have time and position in the sky. That gives us season of the year. A number of these rain stars, or Anwat, were part of an extremely large constellation called the Lion, Al-Asad. Today, the stars of Al-Asad would comprise 8 different Greek constellations stretching across 135 degrees of night sky. It stretched from the modern-day constellations of Gemini and Canis Minor in the west, all the way across the sky to the very bright stars that we know today as Spica and Arcturus in the east. Now, the Lion had many different parts. It had 2 forearms. One of them was called the extended forearm, Adhra al-Mabsuta, which reached out with long claws going down the modern-day constellation of Gemini. The other forearm was called the clenched forearm, Adhra al-Maqbuda, and this forearm didn't have claws extending from it, so it was seen to be the arm that was grasping at something. From these forearms, you can trace stars going to the head with eyes and eyelashes, other stars that marked the edge of the mane, then trace it down further to the haunches and the thighs, and the bushy tail of the lion was represented by the stars of the modern-day constellation of Coma Berenices. Altogether, this painted a very detailed picture of a giant lion in the sky. Now, if you start at the tail of the lion, you can see 3 close pairs of stars, evenly spaced, going up the sky. These represented the leaps of the gazelles, al-Qafizat, as they were running in fear from the lion. At the end of these 3 leaps, you can see a few bright stars that represented the gazelles themselves, a zibat, as well as a number of fainter stars that were seen to be the children or the offspring of the gazelles. So here we have a nice sky scene. We have a giant ferocious lion chasing a bunch of gazelles across the sky. Now, because the stars of the lion were spread so widely across the sky, they took in total about 4.5 months to set. If you watched the first stars from the forearm set at Ghallas in the morning, and then waited until the very last of its stars set at Ghallas. These stars represented different time periods and seasons throughout the year. The desert poet Dhu Rumma, who died in 735 CE, wrote this: "The forearm came behind it, with a rain cloud that flowed like a flood with a mighty downpour of water. And its sneeze and its forehead spilled out water upon the earth, and so it grew up and matured." The stars of the lion are just a few of the rain stars that were well known in ancient Arabia. In the middle of the lion is a bright star that was best known under its own name, the weather change, a Sarfa. when it set at Gazelles in the west, it signified the departure of the cold and the coming of the heat. And when it rose during Gazelles in the east, it signified the departure of the heat and the coming of the colder temperatures. Because of this significance, the star also had another name, Nab Adaher, the dog tooth of time, which it shows smiling broadly. When the star was setting and the warm weather was coming, people would become happy. The flowers are coming out, the weather is getting nice, people can spend more time outside, the days are getting longer, and so all of this made people happy, and when you're happy, you smile broadly, and you show your canines, your dog teeth. And so this star was the dog tooth of time. If you'd like more information about these stars, you can go to onesky.arizona.edu and see more examples of how the stars were used in calendars and stories. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Active Galactic videos on YouTube and follow our other social media.